this is Fox News. Here's your breaking headline. They assassinated Julius Caesar 2,000 years ago. Thanks for the update.
I wouldn't have known that. Yeah. How about that, AC?
I mean, they just spent 30 seconds talking about the assassination of Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I give up. All right. Okay, you should be playing now, Joe. There you go. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jet Radio 1400. I'm your host, Alan Carpenter. It's time once again for the Catania Chronicles. My man, Sam, across from me in the studio.
Good day, good day. Catania Chronicles number?
I'm going to say 60.
61.
I was close.
You're close. You've been one off for a little while.
Yeah, off in certain ways for years, my friend. A long time.
You look quite dapper today.
Oh, do I?
Dapper. So I wonder if it's the AC 2.0 show.
I didn't know I was going to be dapper for that. I'm trying to be
Just
as
randomly came
dapper
out.
as possible.
I looked over and I'm like, you look totally different.
What do the kids say? Check out my drip.
Check out my drip.
Check out my drip.
There it is. You're on it.
I got it.
Everybody, thank you for supporting Sam Catania Painting. If it weren't for my crew, all my employees, we wouldn't have the freedom to do this show.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Catania Painting, 814-866-2600. And sorry if I'm a little wired or amped up today. I've been excited for this show.
We're kind of we expect you to be amped up. I don't expect you to come in and say, well, I don't know.
Honestly, I try to bring it down a little bit for the show. I've had people comment that I'm a little wired and
Oh, you're too excitable?
all over the place.
Oh,
yes.
really?
So I try to bring it down a little bit. It's more of a facade because if
Yeah.
I let go,
Right. I got that.
you've seen what happens. We stop traffic on State Street.
You're like me at the Chinese buffet. You got to pace yourself, yes. Even though you don't want to.
So off air, I was telling AC that I've been really excited about this show. This is awesome.
Well, we did one show that was just you and me.
That was AC 1.0.
1.0.
Now we got the AC 2.0.
And that was fun because, as I said to Sam, like the joke I made to people at that time, they said, well, how do you feel about that? You're going to spend an hour asking you questions, and what's your opinion, what's your experiences? I said, I've only been waiting 56 years for somebody to ask me these things.
And here we are today.
Because I'm always on this side of the mic, people don't ask me things.
Unfortunately, we only have 1 hour.
That's true.
But
Yes.
we are going to do an AC 3.0 show in the future as well.
I didn't realize that.
So you did not.
Maybe around my birthday in May.
What day?
May 10th
May 10th.
is my birthday.
May
yeah.
10th. Okay. All right. So
So let me
a lot
preface
of
this.
people.
Let me preface this by telling you one thing, because I want to make sure I tell you this. My wife wears her red Sam Catania hoodie all the time, which is fine with me, because it's winter time.
Thank you. We love the support.
Well, it's winter time. She's a woman. She's cold. However, last Friday night, I go to bed before she does, because usually on Friday night I've got 1 or 2 Irish whiskeys. And I woke up and I reach over and I felt the hoodie. I felt the zipper on the hoodie, and I'm like, honey, you can wear your Sam Catania hoodie anywhere you want. Please don't wear it to bed. I don't want to roll over and touch my wife and think of Sam. So this is one place where please don't wear that hoodie.
I don't even know what to say to that, AC. Rarely, ask anybody, rarely am
It's
I
true.
taken speechless.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. It's like I don't really, I want my mind to go one place in that circumstance.
It's not often I'm caught speechless. That was good. That was good.
But they
Sorry.
were super nice hoodies. Thank
I want to
you, sir.
apologize. Sorry, AC.
Maybe the leggings. She could get away with the leggings, but I don't know about the hoodie.
For our listeners, if you want a hoodie, just stop into the office.
How about, do people get how generous that is? That if you want, and they're nice hoodies, folks.
People,
If you want one, just
hoodies.
get one.
People talk. about, lots of companies sell hoodies.
Yeah.
And we've only ever sold hoodies once in our 17 years in business.
Right.
We've sold hoodies once, and that was for breast cancer awareness. We were taking
Which is
orders, and
awesome.
we were selling them for, not to make money, we were sending all the money and
Yeah.
proceeds,
Love
charity.
that.
So
Love that.
all the hoodies are free. Just stop into the office.
I just think people are so not used to getting nice stuff for free, or things that are truly free. I think people don't understand. You can go to the Sam Catania Painting office and say, you know what, I'm a 2X. You got a hoodie for me? And just get one.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
30th and Cherry, people. 30th and Cherry. You can't miss our office. And they're limited hours. It's our slow season.
Right.
So
Sure.
my office manager is only there 9 to noon Monday through Friday. But if you pop in 9 to noon Monday through Friday, we'll advance her hours once we pick up a little.
Yeah.
You stop in Monday through Friday 9 to noon, you don't need a reason.
I love it.
Walk in and say, can I get a hoodie, please?
Yep. I love it.
Yeah. So, enough about us.
Okay.
This show's about you. This is the AC, I don't even know what show we're on.
AT&T.
AT&T, ACDC 2.0. So,
You know, when I interviewed Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, he insisted on calling me AC/DC for the entire
I
interview.
love it. I always think about ACDC when I think of
He's
AC.
like, I always felt that was kind of a cool thing.
That's cool. So,
Because I love some AC/DC.
yeah, so do I. So do I.
Great band.
So, what do you have to talk to us about?
I don't know. I thought you were going to ask me questions.
Oh, thanks for joining, everybody. We will see you next week. Tune
Yeah,
in.
it's been fun.
So, how do you want people to see you on a professional level?
Well, that it's funny because I was mentioning when you had Jeff on, we were talking about like what you want in your professional life. What's your vision? What's your dream? Right when you start in whatever your chosen field is. And I've always said I didn't want necessarily to be number one, although I have been several times. I didn't want to be the most popular DJ in town. I didn't want to be the coolest DJ in town, which I probably would never be. I played way too much Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. But I wanted people to hear me and say, he belongs on the radio. He's a professional. That guy is doing what he's supposed to do. And hopefully I've gotten there on occasion.
So, from my understanding, talking to you, throughout previous conversations, you really put your all into it. You really put your all into it,
Yeah.
as opposed to just winging it and, for lack of a better term, half-assing
Yeah.
half-assing the shows.
Well, honestly, and I don't say this to be immodest, but it's true. I mean, I have some talent in this, and I think I could get away with putting in less effort if I wanted to. But I just, that's not me. I just don't want to do that.
I want to remind you, this is the AAC 2.0 show, so you don't have to be modest.
Okay,
This
good.
is your show.
Good.
If you're ever allowed to have an ego, you can have an ego
This
for
is
the next
it. This is it.
45 minutes.
Yeah, well, I really don't like false modesty. Nobody likes an egotistical person or a bragger. But I don't like false modesty, and it's, I know I'm pretty good at radio. And like I said, I could do...
Pretty good.
Yeah, well...
There he is, being modest again.
Being
people.
modest again. But I could put in less effort and probably get away with it. And you and I are similar in that way, we don't want to do that. We want to be good at what we do. Because you want to be seen as a professional. Yes, you do crazy commercials and you do goofy stuff, but if you see the quality of the work from Sam Catania Painting, you go, oh, that's good. They know what they're doing.
I appreciate that, thanks.
It's very true.
We have a great staff.
Yeah, it's very true.
And you really could get away with just winging it.
I think
But,
I could.
Yeah.
I think I could. And I'm just not built like that, And in my career too, Sam, has been interesting because in the 32 years I've been in radio, I've had so many different tasks and jobs. And so just when I think I'm getting good at one, they go, oh, now we want you to do this. So I'm doing something different, and I got to learn how to do that well.
And just so you know, for the listeners out there, just so you know, we didn't talk about this one on air. So, we've been on for, this is our 61st show.
Mhm.
And I've often thought that maybe you do wing it. This explains, we've had conversations after that,
Yeah,
and you thoroughly explained that you put your all into it,
Mhm.
which tells me, not that you're good, how phenomenal you really are at doing this job, because I'm thinking you're winging it, and you're that good to sell that. Think about that.
well, thank you, that's a great compliment, yeah, that it sounds natural and
It's true,
spontaneous.
it's true.
I like to think about, sometimes I think about like, really when you're doing radio really well, which is, one of the things I know to do really well, hopefully. I think of it as like being a jazz musician. Okay, here's your structure, here are the chords, here's the basics. Now, play around with that. Now, improvise on that and see what you can come up with. Here's a sort of a minimal structure. And now you get to play with it. That's how I like to do radio. I don't like, and we've talked off air about certain podcasts. You hear certain podcasts that are four guys in hoodies sitting around a table. It has no structure, it's going nowhere, they're all trying to talk over each other and be funny, it's horrible. Also, you hear podcasts, which are totally scripted word for word, and they get boring.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the middle is that sweet spot of structure and direction, but also spontaneity. And that's how I like to do radio.
And you're very creative. You're creative with your answers. You're creative with your questions. You really are.
I'm curious, I'm really interested, whatever you brought in some people that are operative in fields I have no connection to, but I'm still curious about what they do,
Yeah,
what their world is like.
absolutely. And it takes a while. AC, when you're working together, it takes a while to develop chemistry
Yes,
and to gel.
yes,
And I feel like we hit it off pretty quickly
we
in the
did,
beginning.
we did.
And it still took a while to start to gel, to start to understand each other, to start to become one. And with saying that, I really, honest to God, question, are you winging it? Are you like, when somebody, you've been doing your craft for so long that you may have one foot out the door, looking at retirement. And you're so good that I often question, are you winging it, or is one foot out the door, what's going on? And then we talked off air, and you really put your all into it, which tells me you're that good on the radio to sell it to the point where it's so genuine, it's so natural. Like, wow, it's almost misleading how good you are, because
Well, that's a great compliment.
think about
Thank you,
that.
sir. Yeah.
It's true, this is all genuine. These are thoughts and conversations that we've never had off air.
But I think that's a great goal for people who are in any kind of performing field. You see some of these great singers, and oh, he makes it look like Sinatra, makes it look effortless.
Yes, there it is.
It's not effortless,
There it is.
but he got somewhere where there's this flow, and I'm always reaching for that. That's sort of where I want to
You're there.
bring things.
You're there.
Well, like you and I, our chemistry, for example, we established early on that you're energetic, you're kind of crazy. I am gently
True.
bringing it back, but it's also your show.
Yeah.
So it's not my job or my function I'm gonna tell you how this show runs. No, it's your show. But we work well with that because, those two things are complementary.
Yeah.
And I'll ask, maybe a question that's a little serious or a little deep, and you'll bring it back and have fun,
Yeah.
or back and forth.
I think people
that's the
enjoy
fun of
that.
it.
I think that
I
helps
think they
increase
do.
ratings.
I think they do.
Yeah, I think people really enjoy that.
I think so.
And I haven't run out of the studio in a while. I've been pretty good.
You've been good. You've been good.
Yeah.
But I minored in, I majored in journalism, basically, broadcast emphasis, journalism at Mercyhurst. And, that is my background, and I have not been able to, in my career, as much as I've tried, to escape news in one function or another. So as soon as I got out of college, I went and I did weekends at the old WRIE on Route 19. And, you know, I'm playing oldies, I'm having a great time, I'm playing Blood, Sweat, and Tears and all this great music. And then, we think we'd like to hire you part-time, okay, for news, just immediately, okay. That station went out of business. I went to a country station, I worked at the country station, okay, great, couple years in, we're switching to news talk, we want you to do news talk. Did news talk, quit that station, got hired at Jet Broadcasting, which at that time was TV, Jet 102, and Froggy 94.7. What did I get hired for? News. You know, and then I started doing other things around there, but the news thing has always followed me, and even to this day, what do? Well, I work on Jet, which is partly news, and I do news over at Rocket. So it's always been a little part of my job.
So,
It's not my passion. I've worked with journalists who, oh my gosh, the way they get into a story and wanting people to know, and the way their eyes light up when something's breaking stories out there, I'm not that person.
so being pushed into the news on so many different levels, did that cause or force you into being more versatile?
I think so, yes. I think that's exactly right. Yeah, because I could have just been a DJ, and music is my main love in life, outside of my wife. I could easily just play music and have fun with it, but then I was forced into, no, I don't want to say forced, but I was pushed into, why don't you do news here? And we've got, and they would hear me do interviews in a news format or a news purpose. And then they'd say, oh, well, we have clients that want to come on. Can you interview them? It's a paid program. Can you interview them? This person owns a restaurant. This person is doing a fundraiser. Can you interview them? So yes, I think it did add to my versatility. I really do.
Because the reason I ask is some things that we're forced into, we're pushed into as a craft, force us to break off into different paths and force us to want to be more versatile. That's why I ask you that.
Well, yes, and to bring the humility piece back in. You know, I've got a deep voice. I'm pretty good with words. I'm pretty good at writing. So
You're still being humble.
Well,
Just let you know.
here's the humble part.
Okay.
Here's the humble part. Because I knew I would never be the coolest, most popular, crazy, I saw him at the bar, I can't believe this guy, DJ in town. I would never be that guy.
That's sticker shock.
Yeah.
Not sticker shock. That celebrity, I can't think of
The
the
shock jock type.
There you go.
Or even, oh my God, that guy's so much fun. You know, I can be fun, but my sense of humor is different. And so to have this other piece in my career of interviews, news, public service, that sort of thing has been, you know, very helpful in building a foundation because, you know, I'm a good DJ, but I'm not the DJ who everybody's always talking about. Oh, you believe he said that? Can you believe he said this? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not the most popular guy at the bar. That's not what I do well.
So, let's shift gears.
Let us shift.
I wanna
gears.
shift gears.
Okay.
You know, I wanna hear more.
You know, my car has a CVT engine. It has infinite gears.
Infinite gears.
Infinite gears on a CVT.
There you go.
Not a lot of horsepower,
There you go.
but infinite
That's
gears.
okay. That's okay. You're not one for speed.
That's right. So we have infinite gears on the show. It's a CVT engine on the show.
Absolutely. There's an advertisement. So, I wanna hear, I'm sure a lot of people wanna hear more about your upbringing, more about your parents.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about your parents. I was really intrigued in AC 1.0 about your mom and dad. I
Yeah.
wanna hear more.
Well, my dad he was such an interesting guy. He was from a family of 11 in Kinzhou. I mean, country folks.
I didn't realize Kazoo.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and my grandfather had gone from being in the coal mining business in West Virginia to the oil business, and thus they moved to Warren County,
Yeah,
you know, at that time.
yeah. How long was he in the oil business?
I don't know. I honestly
Okay.
don't. My grandfather died before I was born,
Okay,
so I never got to know my grandfather on my dad's side.
okay.
But my dad, you know, went to Korea, fought in Korea, U.S. Marine, came back, and got into the world of being an electrician, a journeyman electrician. You know, he was also in the National Guard for a while and Merchant Marine. Got into being an electrician, and he was a really good electrician. And he got hired by a company called Sardoni, which brought him here, which, you know, later went to work for
So
Penelec.
work brought him here.
Work brought him here.
Okay.
My mom was from the eastern part of the state, a town called Towanda, Pennsylvania. And she was gonna go to school to be a teacher, but when she met my dad, they got married and she dropped out of college. And they came here. But it was, what's interesting is my mom and dad are very different people. And my dad was the quintessential John Wayne, strong, silent type, U.S. Marine, very, very intelligent. But if you first met him, you would have no idea how smart he was. He used a lot of double negatives, he dressed it down, he looked country, and that's what he wanted to be.
Was he quiet?
Oh, very quiet.
Yeah.
Very quiet. But if you saw him, you gave him a Sudoku puzzle, he would
And
fly through it.
And it's often difficult to identify pure, genuine, true intelligence when
Mhm.
somebody's that quiet.
Yeah, my dad's intelligence was very left brain too. It was very much mathematics and you know, technology and ratios and numbers and all of that. That's how his brain worked. Now my mom is very much a very talkative, everyone loves her. She's very lovable, very artistic, very fun, very down to earth, great lady. But they're very different people. My dad was a staunch conservative, my mother is a staunch liberal, you know. Politically different, but they shared the same values. I think they looked at life the same way. So yeah, that was kind of the house I grew up in, and you know, working class, you know, but my father, and after a while at Penelec, he got paid very well, and he was very, very good at his job. But he put enough money away, he was able to send my sister and I to college, and I had very minimal student loans. You know, so that was a great gift.
Yeah,
From that.
absolutely. So, which one do you feel that you got the most characteristics from?
My mom,
Your
totally
mom,
my mom.
really?
Totally. And I think my mom was hardworking, but I think my work ethic comes from my dad. My dad, you know, took a lot of pride in what he did, and he was the kind of guy, and you know, you probably have a couple on your crew like this, that when the other guys get in a situation, we're gonna call him. He knows.
Absolutely.
He knows. That's what my dad was.
I understand.
He was that guy. But my personality, my love of pop culture and entertainment and everything comes from my mom. For sure.
Now, we briefly discussed this on AC 1.0.
Yes.
Was this a dream of yours, a goal of yours, to be on radio, or did you trip over this? Tell the listeners.
It was, I would say it was certainly among the maybe 3 or 4 potential career choices when I was a little kid. Like, well, what do I want to do? Well, maybe I want to be on TV, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to be a teacher. But I was so intrigued with radio. And those were the days when, and this is, you know, Pliocene era, pre-internet and pre-apps, but the days when you get on your AM radio and try to get Detroit and try to get Cleveland and listen to all these, and I listened to a lot of Canadian radio, and I love the way their announcers sounded.
Is that why you listen to Canadian radio?
Yeah, I love their
Because,
announcers.
yeah.
I love the way their announcers, plus they also played, because of the CanCon rules, they had to play a certain amount of Canadian music, and they were songs I didn't know. You know, like radio will play the same songs, you know, a lot of the time over and over, and now to hear different music up there.
So with that being said, songs you didn't know, was that more intriguing than
Yeah.
today's world, what we have every so often, a song is just repetitive?
Yeah.
The music's repetitive, I should say?
Well, now you can seek it out everywhere. You know, now you can go on Apple Music, you can go on the iHeart app, wherever you want to go and seek out new music. You can even find, I like this artist, so who kind of sounds like them,
Yes.
you know? Back then you could do that. And I just remember hearing announcers and thinking, I think I could do that. You know, I'm kind of creative, I'm a little bit funny, I'm smart enough, I think I could do this. And so, yeah, I decided that's what I was gonna major in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I just like to know the path. Everybody,
Mhm.
everybody
Oh.
has a path. Some people are very analytical about it, and some people are not.
There are guys, and women, I suppose, too, musicians, radio people, entertainers, who will tell the same story. I would sit up all night listening to the radio. I would sit up all night. You know, I had the radio in my bed, and I wasn't supposed to be listening. I've read a lot of interviews with musicians and so forth, they tell that same story. That was me too. That was definitely me.
Yeah. So, what's a common misperception that people think they know about you, but they couldn't be more inaccurate? They couldn't be further from the truth.
Misperception, I don't know. I don't know
Think
what
about
people
that.
think about me.
I'm going to shift gears for a minute. This wasn't planned, but based
Yes.
on your response just now,
Yes.
I'm aware that a lot of people hate me and Sam Catania Painting.
Well, because they don't know you.
Stereotypical.
Mhm.
My toys, the business, the crazy commercials that we get hate mail about. We just received another one this week. And that's why I'm asking you. And because people don't know. Like I said, if you've had a long, thorough, involved conversation with me and
Mhm.
you don't like me, I respect that.
Then that's your right, yes.
Absolutely. But don't dislike me based on what you think you know or what
Oh,
you see with
totally.
my craft.
Yeah, totally.
You know, what you see with my craft, because it's not accurate.
Yeah, I don't know that's a good question, because I don't know what people assume about me. I really don't know what they think.
I can be honest from this side. Oh, man, I wish I could lie and tell you something. I can't. I can't because
No.
everything I hear about AC is positive.
I really do, I do try to keep it that way without being relentlessly Mr. Sunshine. But, obviously I'm taking a break from social media for Lent, but if you look at my social media, there's not a lot of complaining. There's not a lot of, outrage.
I mean, I wish I could make something up, but I can't because, I mean, for ratings, for purposes
Yeah.
of ratings, I can't because I don't hear negative about AC.
Well, yeah, and you know something too about me, Sam, and this is true, definitely truer the older I get as well. I tend to see things in a fairly nuanced way. So, controversial people usually see things it's this way or it's that way, and I'm like, nah, sort of, but not really.
Black and white as opposed to gray.
Yeah, I think the world is very gray, and I think you've got to understand that,
Absolutely, for sure.
you know.
So, I was just curious about that.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a
wanted
good
to know.
question, but my gosh, unless somebody pops on the YouTube feed and says something, I can't imagine anything that
I
people
mean,
assume about me.
I wish we would get a phone call with material on this. So,
That's a good question, though. I wish I
What's-
had an answer.
yeah, that's why I said, that's why I switched gears.
Yeah.
I wasn't, as people know, we don't script our show, this is all genuine.
I'll tell you
It's all
one thing that
natural.
one thing people assume about me, it has nothing to do with my personality. They assume I don't fit in my car because I'm 6'3"
Yes.
and I drive a Honda Fit. Let me tell you, that is one of the most brilliantly engineered cars, and I'm absolutely comfortable in my little Honda.
Yes. And what size shoe, 13? I'm joking.
16.
I'm joking. So why did I say 13?
Because that's what I used to wear.
Used to wear 13 for years.
If I wore those anymore, they'd have to call Dr. Olson to
Right.
take care of me. God bless him.
So that's why I asked you that. I didn't plan on shifting gears like that, but your answer to it, not having an answer basically, kind of made me shift into,
Yeah.
people don't like me because of the stereotypical.
Yeah,
The commercials.
I don't know what they assume. They might assume to be fair, they might assume I'm a little more lighthearted than I actually am. I'm fairly serious inside. I do have a sense of humor about life, and I try not to let, get too dark, but I'm pretty serious deep down.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's your morning routine like?
My morning routine, oh boy.
Just so, just so when people are getting up in the morning or when they're going to bed and maybe they think about AC, what's your morning routine like? Do you get up and do you rush to work, or do you get up and
I
relax
rush to work because I have to be here so early. So I get up around 4, jump in the shower, shave my head every other day, while listening to a good podcast, and then I come down here and say good morning to Mojo, and I get a cup of coffee and, do whatever commercials are still on the docket for me, and write the news for Rocket, and I'm ready to go.
and you're due to go on air at?
Yeah, Moj goes on at 5:30. Sometimes I'm a little bit later because I'm still getting the news together, but definitely before 6.
Okay. So, what time do you leave your house normally?
Usually, I would say 4:45.
I was gonna say
maybe,
4 to 5, yeah.
Somewhere like that.
Okay.
Which is way better than what I used to do. I used to get here at 3:45 when I had other duties and there was other configurations. So 5:45 feels like a vacation. It's so much nicer. Anybody, and there's a lot of folks in the area who work bizarre hours, you know what I mean. If you go to work at 3, it's very hard on you. Much harder.
So, you get here, let's just say 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
You go on air somewhere between 5:30 and 5:45-ish.
Yes,
So, do you have your coffee at home or here?
I have it here.
Okay.
So
So a
we
lot
have
of your
good
morning
coffee here.
routine consists of coming here to chill, to relax, to focus, to have your coffee.
Yeah, I have it set up where I come here and I don't really hit the ground running, but I do hit the ground walking. And I don't have to rush around most mornings unless there's some pending project or emergency. But yeah, I have the coffee here, and it's nice because we have coffee from Milk Creek Coffee on Linden Avenue here. And when we didn't, I would have to stop to get coffee because I couldn't drink what we had here. But now we have delicious coffee here, so that's good.
Excellent.
Yeah, they're the best.
We all have them. What is a pet peeve of yours? We all have them, and I gotta be honest with you, on the spot, if you were to return that question to me, I couldn't answer you on the spot.
Well, I can tell you,
When it occurs, in the moment,
Yeah.
I could answer you.
Oh, right, here
On-
it is,
Yeah, on the
sure.
spot, yeah,
We-
I am,
You know what it is, Sam, and you're not guilty of this, so I'm certainly not pointing a finger at you. It's people who wanna talk to you but don't wanna listen to you. You know what I mean, those people, they can't wait to talk to you, but they don't care about what you're saying in response to. I hate that. And I think because as somebody who is trained to do interviews, it drives me bonkers. It's like they want to interview me, but they don't want to hear what I'm saying, or they want to talk to me, but they just want me to hear them. I don't like not being heard. And there's a misconception. People think because I'm a radio person that I dominate conversations. And, I walk into a room and I'm blah, 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 blah. That is not me in any way. I'm not that person.
you're more the quiet type.
I am a quiet person.
Yeah, you're more quiet.
I'm a fairly quiet person.
Your personal life is opposite of what people would expect,
Yeah, very much so.
because you're a huge radio personality. And people would think that you carry that on through your life. You're the quiet type, you kind of hide behind closed doors.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, so even though we have an active social life, my wife and we go to a lot of events and go out to eat a lot and go to a lot of fundraisers and things like that. When I need to recharge my batteries at the end of that, and that's, either playing video games or reading or whatever. And it's like a mixed blessing because, when you're an introvert, you wind up having a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas and observations that you go, oh, that's good, that's interesting. And then you take it to the radio the next day, So it's just a different mode of operating. I have worked with true extroverts, and they just amaze me. You put them in a crowd of people, and they are so fired up and happy. And I wish I was that way, but I'm not. And I think you have to understand what you're like, and then turn those into strengths if you can.
My process, my thought process, it's crazy right now. Because you're this type A personality, if you will, on the radio for
Mhm.
your craft. You're one of the most respected, one of the most well-known radio personalities in the area. Yet you basically work alone. Think about this.
Yeah, I kind of do.
You work alone, which falls into your, I'm digging deep, I'm analytical right now. You work alone, which allows you to fall into your typical personality, your characteristic, your introvert side.
Mhm.
But on the other side, if you're a listener and you're listening on the radio, whatever station you may be on at the time, it appears different. It's a different perception because you're a radio personality. We think radio personalities raw.
Right, exactly.
But
Exactly.
think about that. I'm
That's very true.
digging deep.
Well, here's the thing, Sam. This is what they tell us in radio, and it's really, really good advice, and it's become something that makes radio very natural for me as an introverted person. When you're on the air, you're talking to one person. Hopefully not literally, but you're talking to one person. It's not, hey, did you guys see The Last of Us? It's, have you seen that show, The Last? What do you think about that? You're talking to one person always. And that, as an introvert, is natural. Introverts like to talk to a single person or two people. It's very different than going, I don't have any trouble going before a crowd. But for what I do every day, talking to that one person on the other side of the radio, that's my function. That's what I'm here to do. And as an introvert, it's easy to do that, because you're just talking to one individual.
And I love the depth of this conversation, the thought process. Because before I started this show, before we started Catania Chronicles, I didn't see myself as a radio personality, like we discussed.
Mhm.
And from the other side, you may not be completely aware of this because you're always on the radio. But from the other side, you're front and center, you're loud. Not you, just
Right.
radio personality.
Sure.
Loud,
Yeah.
amplified. Everybody knows you, everybody hears you.
Mhm.
And you think, oh, this person would be amazing in front of crowds, which I am not. I struggle.
It ain't easy.
But I struggle, and the people that see me on stage, I'm all fired up and amped up. I have to get there to be able to pull that off, be able to succeed in that moment. And with you, coming to the other side, starting Catania Chronicles, I feel it. I've experienced both sides.
Yeah. It's a whole different field,
And
isn't it?
this is, it becomes more of a natural gig because
Very
I'm
much.
talking to you
Very much.
and I'm talking to a guest when I have them on.
Right.
So I got to experience both sides.
Oh, yeah.
And it is easy for somebody like myself to be on the radio now that I've been here for a year.
Mhm.
Because I'm not talking, I can't look out and see thousands of people.
Right.
I can see you.
It's a whole different approach. They actually tell us in radio. I mean, let's say you're on a station. Let's say, okay, I'm on Bobber, right? And let's say the target demographic, let's say it's women 35 to 50. Let's just say that. You literally can think of a friend of yours who is in that target demo and say, okay, this is who I'm picturing when I do this show. It makes it so natural and easy.
Well, you wouldn't even have to because you're so well in front of you speak so fluently in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very different. I do pretty well in front of a crowd, but I do much better one-on-one, and that includes being on the air.
Yeah, and when you're on the air, and it's like I said, you have to really think analytically because when you're on the air, you're on the other side, you're loud, you're amplified, you're front and center.
Right.
But people don't realize you're sitting here all alone.
Oh, yeah.
You're alone.
Yeah.
You're in your own little world. The introvert is you're talking amongst yourself.
Well, and it's also a case of sort of the dynamic you want to have. There are a lot of successful radio shows where the driver of the show which is what we call the main person of the show, is sort of the gang leader, or sort of the, the alpha male in the room. That's how those shows work. But for what I do, especially when I'm working by myself, not so much with Mojo, that's a different dynamic. But by myself, it's like, I'm your companion. I'm there, we're getting through the week together, can I, so it's the middle of the afternoon and your energy's lagging and you need something interesting or you need something funny, one thing that I find interesting that I don't hear a lot of radio people do, unfortunately anymore, and I used to hear a lot of it, is let them know you're enjoying the music, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how many radio people are sitting there going, okay, they've got their notes, okay, we're gonna talk about this coming up, and I've got this. Okay, that's all fine, but you know what, they're there for the music as well as you. So let them know that that song really got you worked up. If you hear me, especially when I'm solo on Rocket and Mojo's off, if he's sick or whatever, people know I am cranking up Black Sabbath and loving it. That's huge to me.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. And you're, like I said, I'm your companion.
And you're allowed to
for
be
that time.
expressive.
Mhm.
You're allowed to be very expressive.
Mhm.
Because that being expressive allows you to connect on a different level with
Yeah.
all the listeners.
Yeah, and I think too, though, Sam, on that note, I think it's, authenticity is a big buzzword right now, but it really is true. I don't pretend to like music I don't like. I don't pretend to like food I don't like. I don't pretend to like sports teams I don't like. I don't pretend to like people I don't like. I think people are smart and they can see through that. So like, for endorsements, I only endorse things I actually use and enjoy. You won't hear me do an endorsement where you go, well, Al doesn't go there, he just talks about it. I won't.
But what if it's your job? What if you have to promote something?
There have been a couple things where I said, I can't. I'm sorry, guys, I can't.
Really?
Yeah, there have been a couple things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's not because
That is so respectful, you have no idea, on a whole different level.
Well, you know what though, Sam, thank you, but it's like, it's not because I'm such a good guy, but because I know it doesn't work. When you hear people endorse things they don't use, the listener knows. So whatever I'm endorsing,
It's genuine, it's true to character.
it's genuine, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I endorse a lot of good stuff and good people, and they're all things that I really believe in and use,
Yeah.
or I would not endorse it. Because I think there's this idea that people get, maybe not just in radio, maybe in advertising, media, television, I don't know, that, people aren't that smart, they're gonna, you can pull the wool over their eyes. I don't think you can.
I may be overstepping on this one. I'm gonna go.
Please, take that step.
So, not with you. Not with you. So, what if you don't like the person you're sitting with for a half hour or an hour? What do you do in that situation?
That so
That's-
rarely happens. It happened more back in my early days in radio, when you get these guys on the air that were thinking they're the next Howard Stern, they're the next Grease Man, they're whatever, and they weren't good at it. It's like, okay, now you're obnoxious and not good on the air. That hasn't happened.
But
a long
even if
time.
you're interviewing somebody and you just get, during the interview, you get to the point where you understand that, all right, I'm not a fan of this person. I don't like their
Yeah.
responses. You
Yeah.
have to, for lack of a better word, you have to fake it.
Yeah,
So-
and you sort of have to depersonalize it and be like, okay, what's the information I want to get out of this
Yes.
person? What is my job? What's my function right now? My function, hopefully I do make friends when I do interviews, but that's not really my function.
Right. And I like the fact that you said you like to be heard. You want people to listen. When they ask you questions, when they have a
Yeah.
conversation with
I,
you,
but, yeah,
listen.
and I don't dominate the conversation.
And
I
I-
don't want to, I just want it to be an exchange.
And I'll be talking, this has to do with that conversation. I'll be talking to people and I'll be looking around, squirrel,
Yeah,
and they'll hey, are you listening? Yes, my ears are up here. I don't
Right.
need to be looking at you to hear you.
Exactly.
And I will repeat what you say in reverse order if you would like me to prove that I'm listening to you.
Yes.
I want to hear what you're saying. So I think it's very important. I think this is a very good, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's a real issue of mine. And if it's somebody who isn't asking my opinion, that's cool, I don't mind. But if you're asking my opinion, you want to talk to me, then let us exchange and let's go back and forth, you know.
Not debate, just conversate, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Just converse.
Exactly.
So, I really like that conversation. Maybe we can revisit that on AC 3.0.
I don't see
but
why not.
I don't wanna miss out on, I know we're running out of, man, I wish we could go through
I know.
noon.
Talking about myself in 50 minutes
I
is
wish
about
we could
ready.
go till noon. I really, if you would've said to me, hey,
Marathon.
something happened, we can go till 11 o'clock, I'm in. I'm game. I can keep doing this. I'm really intrigued by this. So, but I have to get to this question because I'm really intrigued by this.
Yes.
Have you thought about the most or a few of your favorite vacations that you and the wife have taken?
You know, the first answer, and it's probably, if people know my itinerary, it's probably gonna be, one year my wife and I went with some friends of ours, a couple of whom are sadly no longer with us. We went to Indonesia and we went to Bali and we went to a place called Yogyakarta. Now Bali, everybody knows, right? You've seen Eat, Pray, Love, it's paradise. You're living in paradise, and that was fabulous. But Yogyakarta is in central Java Island, and they have it was recently unearthed about 150 years ago, a Buddhist temple so big you could see it from the moon. And I got to ascend to the top of it, climb to the top of it. And a nearby Hindu temple, and the coffee, and the people, and the food. That was fabulous, you know. Indonesia and all of Southeast Asia is such an intriguing place. And for those of us who are, you know, Americans, you have to go there with no preconceptions, you know. I've been to Japan, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to China, but when you go to Southeast Asia, it's like, I don't know what any of this is. I just have to, you know, drop all my preconceptions and enjoy. So that was magnificent.
So would you still be intrigued and want to know more about the international lifestyle had you not met your wife?
Yeah, because it actually happened the other way around. I had been to Japan, I had been to Taiwan, and that was when, it was in Japan that our two mutual friends sort of started talking about, we should introduce these people. They find each other interesting, not romantically, but they would be.
Did you say it was in Japan?
Yeah, it was in Tokyo that our mutual friends sort of connected us initially.
So did you meet in Japan?
We did not meet in Japan. A friend of, did I tell you the story in 1.0? Maybe not.
You briefed it.
Okay, well, in Japan, there was a youth conference for peace.
Yes,
And at that,
I recall that.
At that conference was my friend Nick, who was a Mexican-American Buddhist minister, and my wife's friend, who was a former Miss Indonesia Christian activist.
Yeah.
And they were just talking, and they said, oh, well, you know, my friend's really interested in religion, he lives in America.
Yes, and it wasn't intended, correct?
Not romantically, no.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, so meeting my wife was
So-
as the result of my curiosity of having traveled over there.
I remember all of
meeting
that
people.
from 1.0.
Yeah.
But what really got me just now is, I didn't think you meant Japan, but when you were talking about that, I'm like, did you meet Japan?
Yeah.
Or is that when it all started? That's when you
it all
planted the
started.
seed.
That's when it all started, you know, unbeknownst to either one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still love Japan, you know, we were gonna go there a couple of years ago, and obviously the pandemic happened, and even when we're coming back from Indonesia, a long layover in Japan, you know, we eat and hang out and still love it.
So where did you actually meet?
We actually met in Indonesia. I flew there.
Indonesia, okay,
That's where we actually met.
interesting.
It's where we got married too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Somebody was talking about, I forget a couple of years ago, somebody was talking about their wedding and telling one too many stories and everybody was bored. You know how they do that? And I, you know, then the conversation sort of waned and I said, my wedding was all in Arabic. And I just let that sit there.
Let their minds
Yeah, it's like,
run.
well, just, you know, just so you know, my wedding was in Arabic.
That's incredible. We did
It's
not
beautiful.
talk about that.
Yeah,
That's
beautiful.
incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So you actually met her in Indonesia?
Indonesia, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I didn't realize you were that much into traveling, that curious about the international lifestyle.
You know
prior
what
to
happened,
her.
yeah, you know what happened, Sam, is, you know, I grew up in the country and I never traveled much and we'd go to, you know, Toronto or whatever. And then I think, maybe it was a midlife crisis, when I got in my late thirties, I thought, I have to see more than this. I've gotta explore and see things and meet people and hear new ideas, and that's when I started traveling, you know.
So, I don't need a number, I'm just curious. Approximately how many trips did you take internationally prior to meeting her?
I would say 4.
Let's see, you
4.
have a number.
Yeah, 4. Especially to Asia. I've never been to Europe, never been to Mexico. Well, I would love to go, but I've never been. It's always Asia.
Okay. So did you travel alone or with somebody?
Alone.
Wow.
Yeah. I had some friends and things and connections, but I traveled alone.
Wow.
Yeah. It was cool. And what's interesting about it is, when my wife came here, I told her, we have 3 places we have to go in America. And she said, where are those? I said, we have to go to New York City, we have to go to Los Angeles, and we have to go to Las Vegas. And she said, why? I said, when you watch American movies, 90% of the time, you'll see one of those cities, if not more. And it's
Yeah.
really true, and we've been to all 3, been to LA a few times, New York several times, Vegas once together. My second time there, but my first time with her. And, you know, you watch The Hangover, it's like, oh, I recognize that, no, we stayed right there.
I just watched The Hangover Part 3 the other night.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We just watched part 1 again, last weekend.
Did you? That's great. It's a great
Oh my
movie.
gosh, yes, so good. Yeah,
I'm just intrigued by all that.
yeah, it's,
That's interesting.
and it's like, I also, though, didn't wanna come back and be one of those people with my, hey, guess where I've been stories. So I don't really sit down and go, well, they do this, and they do that. I'm not Anthony Bourdain, and I know it, you know, but it is part of my past and it's part of my experience.
And it's a different type of experience when you are traveling somewhere to explore that city as opposed to
Yeah.
your job when you're traveling, jumping
Very much, yeah.
hotel to hotel,
Very
living
much
out of
so.
a
Yeah.
suitcase.
Yeah, at that time in my life, though, I kind of wished I had one of those jobs where I just traveled all the time. I think I would have loved it when I was in my 30s.
But I don't know if you, I think if you talk to the people that really do travel all the time, the ones I've talked to, you don't really get to explore much because you're
No,
living out of a
very
suitcase in
true.
a hotel room.
Very true. And working on presentations and things when you should be,
Right.
you know, or when you could be enjoying the city, that's true.
So all these different cities, these people travel to,
Mhm.
they don't really get to explore.
Very
So,
true. Get a couple pictures for Instagram and that's about it,
Yeah, that's it.
unfortunately.
When are you going back, when are you going back on social media?
Well, Easter Sunday, I'll be back.
Okay.
I'll be back. I don't know if I'll be as much as I was, because.
I knew when you were allowed, I was just
Yeah.
curious if you were gonna hold out longer. or
This
not.
is, usually I post something on Easter Sunday morning, I'll take a picture at church or something. You know, some picture of lilies or something. But, this has been a nice break, Sam, I gotta tell you. This is easier than the last Lent. It's really nice.
Have you been on Reddit?
Oh, yeah, I don't give up, Reddit.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Can't give up.
Daily, right?
Yeah, every day for Reddit, but Facebook, Instagram,
So-
Twitter, no.
So, your introvert side,
Yes.
Reddit may be your release.
Oh, yeah, and it's, you curate it to what you're curious about, you know, whereas in Facebook, it's whatever they choose to show you. you know, and on Reddit, if I wanna go to the Reddit about hockey, Reddit about soccer, Reddit about, you know, academic biblical translation, whatever, there's one for everything,
Yeah.
you know. You know, we're almost out of time.
No, we're not.
Talking about myself is my favorite
No,
thing.
we're not. We will be back after a break for another 5 hours. I would so do that.
Somebody bring pizzas.
I would so, I'm really into this, I'm really into this. Now, I think I want this more than AC does. I'm looking forward to an AC 3.0.
Okay.
I want this. I
Let-
was excited about this
Let
show.
the word go forth, Sam. We'll
You
do it
are-
again.
No BS. You are the most important guest I've had on the show because you're the host. And you're just different level. Just, I wanted to dig deep.
Yeah. Well, let's do it again.
Yes.
All right, Sam. Thank
Sam
you, sir.
Catania Painting, 814-866-2600, and we'll be back next Wednesday. I don't know, I might schedule a show in between. We'll see what
Yes.
happens.
All right.
All right, thanks AC 2.0!
Oh, you gotta love it.
I was really excited.
Well, I'm excited too because, I mean, I'm not kidding you. It's like people never ask